You sold your Facebook shares. You were obviously on the board there for many, many years. You were one of the first investors. You sold your shares for $638 million in 2012 when the IPO came up. Had you stuck with them, you would have made another $2 billion. Does that eat away at you, or given that you've got another 15, does it not really touch the sides of your sleep pattern?
I don't. Yes. I think one of the things that was very hard to gauge on the big tech companies, and there was a way I understood it and a way I did not, was just how they were going to scale and scale and scale, and how the returns to scale were so enormous. And I don't know, there was, you could think of it in almost a fractal sense, where you add one digit to the market capitalization of a company, and how hard is it to add a digit? How hard is it to go from a company worth 10 million to 100 million? Facebook was worth 5 million in 2004. It was worth 85 million in 2005, 525 million in 2006, 15 billion in 2007. It went a little bit sideways, was worth still around 10 billion in 2009, around 100 billion at the IPO in 2012. Today it's 1.5 trillion, and probably the incorrect view I had back in 2012 was that it was fractal up to 100 billion, and so you could go from 10 to 100 million to a billion to 10 billion to 100 billion, and those were each difficult, but each equally difficult steps. But somehow going from 100 billion to a trillion was maybe much harder, and maybe in retrospect, going from 100 billion to a trillion was actually the easiest of the orders of magnitude, because once you were at 100 billion, in some sense, you'd gotten to a big enough scale that it was easy to scale. It was relatively easy to do the next order of magnitude scale. Nobody thought people were going to do it. So it was somehow both, as an investor, you always want to invest in things that are true and contrarian. So somehow going from 100 billion to a trillion was the easiest. People thought it was the hardest. And so that combination suggests that that was actually sort of in some sense, the lowest risk order of magnitude to scale, and that's certainly something I did not conceive of back in 2012.
Was that your biggest mistake as an investor, getting out of Facebook too early?
Oh, man, there probably are all sorts of mistakes, but it's you don't stress about them that much.
But Mark Zuckerberg doesn't tease you about it.
It's the biggest mistake people make is never making mistakes.
Yeah.
And and so I don't know. I've probably made a lot of mistakes. There are a lot of things I've gotten wrong conceptually. There are ideas I have that they're not always correct. There are all sorts of things where you, I'd say I don't know. I think this is a little bit too abstract, but probably the big mistake I feel that I've not made is living a life of making no mistakes ever.